Greetings. I'm Herbert Erpaderp, and this is the N-Scale XPT in the original 80s candy livery from Gopher Models.
Don't you model British railways?
Well, yeah, but shut up. I've thought the XPT was really cool since I was a kid, which was about 100 years ago. When I saw that Gopher Models was coming out with the first XPT in N-Scale, I was really interested, and, well, I didn't jump at it because it was very expensive, so I ummed and ahed about it and went, should I? Deep down knowing, yes. Yes, I should. News of a real XPT being painted into this candy livery was the straw that broke the camel's back, or Herbert's wallet, as it were. I had to have one. It seems I chose the right time because I'm pretty sure the sound-fitted 5-coach set in the candy scheme is no longer available. By the time you see this video, it's probably going to be hard to find these if you do want one. And I'm not trying to sell them or anything, I just wanted to share anyway because it's such a nice model. This is a couple of firsts for me. It's my first Australian prototype in N-Scale, all of my other stuff is British. I live in Queensland, and Queensland rail in N-Scale isn't really much of a thing, so this isn't really going to fit with my railway, unless you squint your brain and pretend it's an HST that's been painted red. It is well out of my era anyway, but, of course, the rule of cool applies, so it will get run, because it is, obviously, very cool. It's also my first sound-fitted model, and I have to say, it's a fun novelty, and I like it, but I'm glad it can be muted. The engine sound is recorded from a real XPT, and you've got to appreciate that authenticity. There's also a bunch of radio sounds and various alarm bells and door opening and closing sounds. I'm sure there is a slight loss of quality as I'm recording this onto my phone, but you get the idea. It's pretty impressive the sound you can get from such a tiny speaker these days. It still doesn't really compare to the real thing, which has a lot more bass and a very satisfying rumble. But I guess that's really a matter of physics. It is still quite good, and I do have a lot of fun honking the horn. I am a little bit disappointed that, unless I'm doing something wrong, I can't play fun patterns with the horn, but it's still fun. I really like how the compressor will kick on every now and then, while the engine is sitting idle, with various air hisses and such. Nice hiss. So, I like it, but I will probably have the sound muted most of the time. The important thing, at least if you ask me, is that the train runs fantastically. This is my first purchase from Gopher Models, and I really don't know anything about them, but I'm very pleased with how well the XPT runs. I did, at some point, change the acceleration and deceleration values from the default settings, though the default was okay, and I'm sure there is a bit more fiddling that could be done, but I'm not really a hyper-realistic operation kind of guy, so I'm not overly concerned with that sort of thing, and as long as it's not zipping around at a scale 700 kilometers an hour, it's pretty well fine by me. What I was quite impressed with was just how slow I was able to get this thing to move. This was the slowest speed I could get my control to go to. I didn't actually video that part of the screen, but it did actually say 0 kilometers an hour in the Z21 app. I've no idea how close to accurate the speeds it displays are, probably not very, but look at this crawl. It's barely moving. I mean, it is meant to be a high-speed train. Some might laugh about the XPT being high-speed, but that's neither here nor there. I'm still really impressed. I suspect the fact that every single wheel picks up power helps with this, and its general running. I definitely don't see a need for a stay alive here. The detailing is quite good. I'm no XPT surgeon, and I'm not a rivet counter, so if there are inaccuracies, I can't spot them. I'm not going to go and measure the real thing to compare, but I have seen them in real life, and the model looks quite convincing to me, so I'm very happy with it. There's a handful of lighting functions, which are fun. Who doesn't like having lights that can turn on and off? And I quite like that you can dim the top headlights. All the coaches light up too, and unfortunately, this is always on. Or at least I think it's unfortunate. I'd kind of like to be able to switch it off. I'm sure if I was some kind of electricity wizard, I could install a switch or something, but I'm not a wizard of any kind. I do also think the lights are a little bit too bright. Again, if I was an electricity wizard, I could figure out a way to dim them, but I don't really care enough to figure it out. It's not a real problem. The coaches do have interiors, and they look quite good, though they are a bit lacking in colour. Painting and adding passengers is really something for the modeler to do, and I will probably do that at some point myself. On a kind of positive note, the brightness of the lighting does kind of help to hide the lack of colour, just a little bit. Let's talk about the couplings. They are good, but I do have a minor complaint. They've got electrical connections, as well as the physical hold the train together kind, and that's fantastic. That's why every single wheel has electrical pickup, and why the lights don't flicker. The problem, at least for me, is that it's a little bit tricky to actually couple them. You can't simply put the train on the tracks and press each coach together. You've got to hold the coupling in place while you press them together. I didn't actually get a video of me trying to do this because I didn't have a tripod with me, and you kind of need both hands. There was actually a coupling ramp included in my XPT set from Buckambool Model Trains, and I'm not sure if that's included with all the sets from every seller, but it does look like a good idea, and it looks simple enough to use from the video demonstrating it, but for some reason I had trouble with it. It felt like I was going to break something if I pressed any harder than I was, and the couplings just didn't couple. It was much easier to do while holding the models in my hands, pressing my thumbs up on the bottom of the couplings so they wouldn't move. The problem is you can't do that with the vehicle standing upright on the track. I'm sure doing this with the train on its side is going to cause some damage, and probably some chipped paint, especially when I get my ballast down. This could just mean extra careful handling is in order. I'm sure it's fine for those of us with permanent layouts that don't need to be folded up and put away every time, like mine. Other than those admittedly minor complaints, the couplings are fantastic. They're kinematic, so they couple nice and close on straight track, and they can still make it around smaller radius corners. The info sheet mentions curves with less than 280mm radius may cause derailments, and that seems like quite a tight minimum radius for such large vehicles. My inner curves are 300 something millimeter radius. I'm not quite sure of the exact measurement, and you can probably tell they haven't really been precisely laid, but there's been no issues for me, though it is well above minimum radius. What I'm trying to get at is that this is probably going to run pretty well on almost any model railway, assuming your track is laid reasonably well. I would say mine is okay, and I didn't have any problems. I guess that's about all I really have to say. I'm not really a model train reviewer.
That's obvious.
I just felt like sharing something I thought was really cool. And you know what? I'm right. It is really cool. Anything else I have to say is probably just going to be a variation of I think this model looks really nice, it runs amazingly, and I'm pleased I got one. I think I would have been kicking myself had I waited longer, only to find them out of stock. I've no idea if there's going to be a re-release. I haven't looked into it and don't have any contacts within Gopher Models, and while I would assume they've sold well, because now they're not available means they'd sell them again, I don't know. So if you want one of these, I hope you've got one. I'm sure you will agree it's a beautiful model, so much so that it even looks nice running through my spectacular plywood and blue foam scenery. And hey, if you're interested in the real XPT and you're in an area where you can, go out and see the real thing, especially the one that's been repainted in the candy scheme. It probably won't be around that much longer because it's so old and outdated. I can relate to that. If you've got any questions or comments, why not put them in the comments section below? Subscribe here if you want to see more of this kind of thing, share the video with anybody you think might find it helpful, and if you really like what I do and you want to see videos a bit early, consider supporting on Patreon. That would really help me with my very expensive model train addiction. There's a link in the description. Take care of yourselves, be excellent to each other, and thanks for watching. Farewell.